The spotlight has certainly turned to them over the last couple of weeks, hasn't it? And the spray or sprays, I should say, plural, that Ross Lyon has delivered to his side, particularly over the weekend. Their CEO has been forced to jump to the defence of his coach. Let's see how it all played out.
If you want to get into technicalities and government, which I haven't sprayed the group since I've been here, but you know, I think first possession was like 12-10 at one point, and clearances were 3-12, right? So we had it, but their physicality and strength, we just, our ability to control the ball, exit the ball in a manner that's expected was bottom end, right? And after quarter time, they responded to that.
I love that aspect. You know, anyone who's been a parent and has dealt with kids, you know, you can cuddle them and nurture them as much as you like, but occasionally there might be a couple of stern words that go in there as well. And I think, you know, Ross is an experienced coach. He's just driven to get the absolute best out of our players and raise the standards of our club. So for him, you know, he'd been very tolerant and been very cuddly for a while. For him to occasionally come out and just, you know, give someone a bake, I think that's good.
Carl Delena there, the Chief Executive. And Jimmy, this is round 21 last year, so we have seen this before from Ross.
Yeah, you can't do it every week. Maybe you've got probably 2 bullets or 3 bullets to fire as a coach every year, or else you sound like the old ranting and raving lunatic out the front. And I think it has its place. And when you listen to Ross Lyon, when he spoke about it even more, he constantly mentioned, I kept telling them this and he wasn't getting the response. So, you know, I know we get a little bit sensitive with it, but if he's built up the trust in the group, a spray or a bake every now and then can jolt people into action.
Yeah. Did he take off the right player halfway through the second quarter? I'm referring to Hugo Garcia, who he subbed out. He chose to sub out, and that's his right to do. But it's his 16th match of footy. I would have thought there might have been some bigger issues and bigger names that may have made a bigger statement.
Yeah, well, Jack Steele's not travelling too well either, but you're back in your coach, who he knows better than us, who he should take off the ground. But we'll see how they respond this week. So he didn't get a great response at quarter time because they conceded 4 goals first quarter, then another 4 goals second quarter, and they're down 8 goals to 2 early in the game. So we'll see how they get a response this week from it.
Yeah, and I think the makeup of their list is an interesting point in this conversation of how Ross is coaching them. And let's go back to round 1. They were well beaten by Adelaide, and this is the coach talking about the makeup of their list and their youth.
I don't like to use excuses. It's next man up, but clearly we're a young list that gets a bit more vulnerable, but that's the path we've chosen. But we also want to be better than that.
So this is the fascinating part of it, I think. And, you know, if you're not abreast of all the machinations of St Kilda's list changes over the last years, they have, as you can see there, have gotten significantly younger. They've gone from the second oldest in 21, and then by the end of last year, the start of this year, they were the equal 3rd youngest. So it is interesting when you look at his coaching style through the lens of the demographic of their list. And you're coaching under 18 side at the moment, had a win on the weekend, but it is fascinating, isn't it? You talk about the younger generation, you hear this a lot from coaches that they need more hugs than necessarily maybe sprays, whereas maybe when you were coming up through and you had Kevin Sheedy, like that sort of coaching style would have been a lot more prevalent.
That's right. So that's what Jimmy comes back to. It's an occasional thing. He understands that. He's been around longer than anyone. He's a frustrated man at the moment. That's what I'm sensing at St Kilda.
Does he have the right to be? Is it the list more than his coaching style?
That's where he's got to just be realistic of where they're at. Are they? Yeah, because they've had good games v Geelong.
Well, I'd argue they're no better under him than what they were under Brett Ratten. Yeah. Brett Ratten won a final, if you remember, only 5 years ago, 4 seasons ago it was. And again, have a look at these numbers under Ross. I mean, and look at the last 3 matches, Lordo. There's 110 points or more scored against the Saints in each of the last 3 games. Brisbane Lions, obviously, on the weekend was a whole lot more than that. But prior to that, it was Western Bulldogs and GWS. And for that to happen against a Ross Lyon coach team 3 weeks in a row, it's almost unheard of.
And he's not getting the effort that he normally gets from his team. So that's why he would be concerned.
And I don't think there's partially a distraction. He'd be happy that we're talking about this behavioural component and these rev-ups he's giving his players. And he'd like us to talk about the youth of the team because of the lack of form. There's nothing to show right now.
But do you think it's misdirection? Do you think it's a deflection away from how they're playing to have him talking about
I think it was organic, but I know what he's like to know that there's enough distraction in what he does. And let's not talk about the 3 times 110 point plus scores against them in the last 3 weeks.
And you know, Stephen Silvani and Gubby Allen there, who are 2 very experienced operators, are essentially managing their list. And this is, you know, all the way back from 2010. this is when Stephen Silvani returned to Carlton to be their list manager, and he talked about a 66 game, or back then a 3-year rebuild. And at that point, Stephen Silvani really only had one star youngster on the list, and that was Patrick Cripps. And he said, how many guys can I get that kids want to come and actually see at the footy as we're rebuilding? We might not win lots of games. We might not play finals early. And they went and drafted Wiedering and Walsh and Mackay and Curnow, and they had these stars. And I just wonder, they're throwing all these huge dollars at Tom De Konings and these sorts of guys, and previous ones they've missed out on. They can't seem to find them through the draft. So I think there is, to use your point, there's a frustration internally at St Kilda. Is it the chicken or the egg? Are we no good because we can't get the players through the door, or is it the other way around?
And Carlton must be laughing if De Koning hasn't made his decision yet.
Well, he hasn't made his decision.
Yeah,
that's real.
It's been a great 3 weeks in for Carlton, with how St Kilda are going versus how Carlton's going. If I was his manager, I'd say, you've just played in front of 80,000 people at a full packed MCG, and the mob over the road. Just think about it. Where are they at? Do you think they're going any better? Is the money worth taking over there? So that's what he must be throwing at, or that's what I'd have him consider.
You had a phone call from your brother Brad today.
I'm
kidding.
I've never spoken to them. I'm being myself in my shoes. I stayed at the one club because of that reason, because of what you get, whether you're bottom or you're top.
But you were at a big club, though.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. He's at a big club.
So don't take that for granted.
That's what I'm
message.
saying, because wherever you are at Carlton, you're always playing in the big games. And that's where St Kilda, apart from money, aren't selling anything to me. Are they selling anything to you apart from the contract they're putting in front of him?
3 weeks ago, I probably would have said maybe. 3 weeks ago, and Carlton 0-4, but you're right. It's changed in the last few weeks.
What is your thoughts on that?
No, well, I mean, you've been big on the De Koning thing too, that it's a one-out move. They'd be better off getting 4 players at the same $1.7 million per year than him. And again, the most recent example is the coach is spraying the players at quarter time. He doesn't want to go into that environment.